Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene. I'm here at the Grand Rapids Comic Con with actor Aaron Dismuke. Aaron, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing swell. How are you?
Wow. No one really ever asks me that question. No, I'm not too bad, dude. Thank you for asking. How's your time been at the in Grand Rapids so far?
It's been awesome. People have been very kind. I've gotten to do some good nerding out and.
Is it your first time in Grand Rapids?
It is. I hear that the rapids dried up long ago.
No, it's actually just behind us.
Oh, y'all have rapids?
Yes. The Grand River is literally behind this building.
Oh.
So I guess when you...
I was lied to.
No, yeah. No.
My friend sent me a whole meme about the Grand Rapids not... Okay.
No. Well, it's literally right behind us, dude.
I've been...
You've been duped.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Aaron is an actor. You can hear his voice as Senku from Dr. Stone. And one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite shows of recent times is Leonardo Watch from Blood Blockade Battlefront and Blood Blockade Battlefront and beyond. Yeah. So I mentioned Dr. Stone a moment ago. Thoughts on the show so far?
It's really cool. So it is a shonen, but it does this really different take on that. You know, most shonen is like the main character wants to become the strongest.
Mm-hmm. That is not Senku at all.
The strongest whatever. Senku is not strong and not interested in. Actually, for somebody who, like, they repeatedly talk about how weak he is, he's actually totally shredded, which kind of annoys me, but it's fine. He's a scientist, and his goal is to rebuild a civilization that was lost through a great unexplained catastrophe. And so the show is more about, like, the joy of learning. And really, like, I think it's also about giving us perspective on how far our predecessors have gone and have brought us, and how great their achievements have been. Like, how it's actually really cool that, like, we beat the night. Like, it used to be incredibly dark half of all time, and we made it where it's not. It's only dark when we want it to be dark now. That's really awesome if you think about it from the perspective of someone who is living in a more savage time.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because episode 9, when he reintroduced electricity, like that episode, that was like when the show really started clicking with me, because everything, like even the background music to it and just leading up to that point, I had no idea he was even trying to create electricity. And I was like, wow, this is a solid show. Yeah. Because like at first I was like, because I watched it because in anticipation and research for this interview, but I'm always down for like new shows from Funimation because I have a Funimation account. And I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. This is interesting. But then when episode 9 came around, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So unfortunately, I'm only 2 episodes behind.
No worries.
But there's a fighting tournament that's going on right now.
Well, it is still a shonen.
Yes. But I also like the fact that I can actually learn. I mean, no, I'm not going to create gunpowder anytime soon or ever. But it's been a pretty cool show. So
yeah.
Speaking of cool shows, I wanted to say to you on camera, thank you for being Leonardo Watch in Blood Blockade Battlefront, because fist bump. That show is, I thought it was an amazing show. The animation's great. I have both soundtracks for Beyond and, I guess the original series. And then when they realized, oh, there's more, now we're going to make it Beyond, you know?
Right.
So both soundtracks. And it just,
the soundtracks are incredible. I believe that has something to do with the Bebop soundtrack team.
No, I know that, I know, all right, from what I understand, Yasuhiro Naito, or Nito, was the one who did Trigun. He's the one who created Blood Blockade Battlefront. Oh. And the team that I believe animated Cowboy Bebop was working on that show.
Okay.
So as far as the soundtrack, the musician goes, that wasn't Yoko Kanno who did all of Bebop.
Okay, gotcha.
You know?
But it does have some team members from Bebop.
Yes.
In the animation, but not in the music.
I just think
that's where I mixed it.
No, it's all good, dude.
Yeah.
I just think it's an amazing show, and thank you so much for that one. I mean, I'm just hoping for a season 3 down the road, because the manga is actually still going on.
Dude, I hope so. I hope we get it, because that show has been consistently a blast. It's just it has such a good it has such a good angle at which it approaches poignancy when it wants to get there. And it's just a pleasant place to spend time. Like I feel really comforted by watching Leonardo get tossed about like a windblown leaf in this chaotic, crazy world, and then he be okay after.
Hanging on that the big car that's chomping everything, and you can see him.
He's just
like
dangling.
a flag.
Yeah, but it's like there's something about the way the show presents it to where this isn't done to build tension. It's just done to show you like, man, Leo's having a hard time, but you know he's gonna be okay.
But that's the thing. I mean, the thing I like about Leo is he's not that typical shonen protagonist. Like, I'm going to get strong. I'm going to be the best in the world.
Right.
He's like just trying to get by. And the thing that I like between both seasons is like he's slowly building confidence in himself.
Yeah.
Like that, I guess, episode 10.5 when he was talking to the radio DJ and he's like, calm down.
Yeah.
You know? And
he
then
blows
in
way too
episode
hard
2,
into the
he's
mic.
just like throwing jabs back at Zap. You know, that's what I like about it. And I'm just hoping to see more from that down the road.
Yeah. Fighting that, I forget what the creature's name was, but the collector of the artifacts of the gods.
Yes.
You know, whenever Leo fights,
curator?
I think it might be the curator.
Oh,
that's cool. I'm fighting him, and I've got a bottle of Jack Daniels and a chain.
Yes.
And it's like, all right,
all
let's
the
go.
Spoilers, folks. You know.
Yeah. Apologies if the
no,
spoil.
But it's just the show's been out for a few years now.
Right.
I mean, you could still go back and watch it.
This won't ruin too much. There's the stories is so it's also very episodic in a lot of ways, and so I think you can come in anywhere and have a good time.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a great show. I would highly recommend it. And no, I'm not saying this because I'm interviewing you. I just
right, because you had choices of several different shows.
Yeah, but that's a show that it just blew
and
my
that's
mind.
Just one of the best ones.
Bought it on sale at a whim. You know, Funimation was having. I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I was like, wow, and just hooked ever since. Yeah. So you did mention Cowboy Bebop. So what are your thoughts on the upcoming live adaptation?
I hope it's good.
I would have loved if that was your answer. I hope it's good. And then next question.
We're done here. No, I have had issue with. Well, do you know? Is it going to be produced by Hollywood or is it going to be produced in Japan? Show. Well, we know what Netflix did with Death Note.
Okay, yes, I can see that. I can see where you're coming from on that one. But I'm hoping that it'll turn out well.
I just hope that they approach it with more reverence than they did with Death Note. I still remember this moment in the moment that I turned off the Death Note version. The Netflix adaptation of Death Note, which is when Ryuk appears before Lite for the first time. And in the anime, Lite was like, I thought it might be something like this. And Lite is like totally cool as a cucumber. And this is like where you're like gaining respect for and coming to like sort of like grudgingly like Lite, even though he's murdering people. Yeah, because it's before he kills all of the FBI agents. So it's before he becomes irredeemable, right?
Up until that point, you're fine.
He was just killing murderers. And like Yakuza people, war criminals, he was doing more harm than good up to a point.
Fair enough, dude.
In my opinion. I can be a little bit utilitarian with my ethics. Anyway.
Oh, that's fair, dude. That's fair. I can see that. I'm not going to hold it against you.
Cool. So this version of Lite, though, thought to himself, this is weird that this book does this. Maybe gods of death or some sort of supernatural thing could be happening. I should be ready for that. And it made sense that he would be ready for that and that he would care enough about, even if he's freaking out internally, to project a confident face. Whereas, and then Netflix does it and they're like, you know what? I think this would really freak you out. I think you should scream like your idea of like a little girl. And so he does. He wets himself then and there. And it's like, okay, y'all didn't get the character. Was all I could take from that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Does Bebop, is that a sacred show to you like it is to me? I mean, I know that's...
Yeah. Bebop is amazing. It's... Yeah, so they need to get Spike right. That's the most important thing to me. If they can have his attitude down pat and they don't take any liberties with like who that person is, then I'm good.
Well, they got the casting for Ein correct.
Yeah?
Yeah. Initially, it was rumored that it was going to be a German Shepherd, and there was a massive outrage.
It's literally a corgi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a Welsh corgi.
Yeah.
Only worth 5 oolongs. You could sell it or eat it, according to that lady.
Sell it or eat it.
So, actually, I wanted to learn a little bit about you as a person. Do you still play the guitar? And if so, influential musicians?
Oh, I know my chords still, but I could never truly call myself a guitarist because I never like learned a scale or like did a solo.
No sweep arpeggios?
No. Yeah, my playing was limited to being able to do like Coldplay covers to impress girls in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still something.
It is something. Thank you.
So, influential musicians, or I guess favorite musicians.
Oh boy.
All right, better yet.
Right now, yeah.
No, answer that, and then I'll do a follow-up with that.
Okay. Okay, so an early influence was definitely Radiohead, The Killers, Death Cab for Cutie, The Strokes are a band that was very formative for me. Lately, I've been listening to The Miracles of Modern Science.
Okay.
Not just because of Dr. Stone, I swear.
I didn't even put that connection together.
Frightened Rabbit. I've been getting more into folk music lately. I guess I still have some electronic though, because like Louis Del Mar, I like him. Yeah, Crystal Castles. There, I'm done.
Fine, I'll throw in the follow-up question. Like, what song do you emotionally connect with?
There's several.
Throw them out.
There are songs that I...
This is your platform, sir.
There are songs that I I know all the lyrics to because like they just evoke a certain feeling in me, and so anytime I want to like go back to that place, I will just like put in the song. So Frightened Rabbit song would be The Modern Leper. I've got me and a group of friends. Every time we hang out, we like end up singing that song all together, like a bunch of corny kids. What else? There's a song by System of a Down that starts with "The Piercing Radiant Moon" is the first lyric of it, and I always put it in my MP3 player as Spiders, but I know that's not the name of the song.
In my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know it.
I used to have the first System of a Down album.
Yeah, that is from the first one. Yeah.
I want to say that's track 5. That's weird.
Yeah, that song's incredible. It's so good. And I have particular like...
I bought it for Sugar, but then...
Sugar's awesome. Sugar's so good. It's impossible to sing along to.
I used to actually know all the lyrics to that, and I would try rattling it off, too.
Have you heard any of their solo stuff after they broke up?
You mean like, isn't it Darren?
Yeah, Darren Malakian and Serge Tankian. Yeah.
No.
I probably messed up Darren's last name, by the way.
I probably messed up his first name, so...
No, it's Darren for sure.
It doesn't have an I in it?
I'm gonna say no.
All right, that's fine with me. That's not a hill that I'm willing to die on. Actually, no, I'm not gonna pull that on you, dude. It's just like, actually, have you seen System of a Down in concert?
No.
Saw them a long time ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not a bad show.
I bet it was really good.
I like how we just
I could go back. I could get back into them anytime. Me and Josh Greeley share a taste for System of a Down.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll file that away should I ever be able to interview him down the road.
Yeah.
Seems like a cool dude.
Mm-hmm. He is.
He would definitely be on my list. Favorite songs or albums by the Dresden Dolls?
Ooh, mostly it's just that song. Oh, what's it called?
Girl Anachronism?
That's a good one too.
Coin-operated boy?
That's also a good one. But it's the really creepy one that it's like this girl. It's this girl who's gonna get this guy arrested for
Miss Me.
Yeah.
Kiss Me. Yes, I know that song.
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah, I know that song.
It's so creepy. I really love creepy waltzes like that. I don't know if waltz is the right word, but
No, I can. That's off of their. I want to say a self-titled album. I have that album, so
yeah. I've got a particular taste for like that, and some Modest Mouse songs are like that, where it seems like the kind of song that someone would be like singing in like the bows of like a old wooden ship, like as
Okay.
there's a storm. Yeah, that's where that music takes me, and it's cool.
Fair enough. Why do you like All These Things That I've Done by The Killers?
That's just a great song. Okay, so the Killers used to be a guilty pleasure of mine, and now they're just a pleasure of mine. I think that they had a really uniquely. It was a very rock sound. I guess like glam rock would be what you would call it. Where it's like the music it's very impactful, and it's definitely rock and roll, but it also has this like smooth overtone. Like, you know, they're using synthesizers. It felt like, I don't know how to put it. It felt really unafraid and like not self-conscious, if that makes sense. At a time when, and I was listening to it in high school, you know, at a time when I was at my most self-conscious, it was music that was like completely unworried about what anybody else thought about it. It wasn't afraid to like be pretty or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think maybe what I like, and then also like it has this, you know, the like guilt aspect that's in the lyrics, all these things that I've done. It's like, you know, the guy's looking back at a bunch of his regrets. But despite that, it isn't a sad song. Yeah, I don't know. I like the Killers. Brandon Flowers with his lyrics does a good job of sort of like barely delving in to an emotion, like evoking like a place. He's got a line in another song off that album that's it's like a cigarette in a mouth or a handshake in a doorway. I look at you and smile because I'm fine. And it's like, that doesn't really mean anything. But because of that, every time that I listen to it, it can mean a different thing. Yeah. Cigarette in a hand? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah.
So, best concert that you've been to?
Probably, there's a band I like called Murder by Death. They opened for... I don't even remember who they opened for because I wasn't there for the headliner. I was there for Murder by Death. And coincidentally, the act that came before Murder by Death was one of the singers from Isley, which is another band that I'm a big fan of. It's sort of folk rock kind of girl band. And then Murder by Death is a sort of like a Western. It's like It's like if Radiohead was from the South. Which is weird. But yeah, that was probably the best show I've seen, and I was really into it because it was a smaller venue with a band that I knew really well and liked a whole lot. Which normally, whenever I go to a show that's a band that I'm a big fan of, it's because it's a bigger band, and so I'm stuck standing room only in the very back of a crowd, feeling guilty about whoever's behind me not being able to see because I'm tall. So I didn't have to deal with all of that. I was just able to enjoy the music. I had a chair, had a drink. It was nice.
What would be a dream concert for you then?
That. My other favorite concert venue is just Scat Jazz Lounge. It's an underground jazz venue.
Okay.
That has a bunch of it's like dimly lit underground. You take an elevator in a back alley in the middle of downtown Fort Worth to get into it. And there's a stage where a bunch of anonymous jazz bands play. They're not truly anonymous, but they're not huge acts. And they've got these like big round booths that are sort of carved into the wall, and you can see the act, and it's just a nice like cozy environment. Yeah, that's my dream. That's my dream venue for a show and like atmosphere.
But what, do you don't have any bands that would be on that dream concert? Like bands that you've always wanted to see?
Oh, gosh. I mean, any of the ones that I've listed off up to now.
So you haven't seen a lot of them then?
I haven't seen most of them.
You're busy. I get it. You're an actor.
And I have trouble with shows that are crowded. I don't like the big crowds.
You don't?
I'm not a fan of the huge crowds, especially because I can't get up close. I've seen. I usually have to stay in the back because I'm just really tall. So I can feel the rage of the person behind me who can't see.
What I found in the past, yeah. Just recently, like being up front, it's not, especially like up front row, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Because I'm going there for like getting as much of that concert in as possible, so having the sound. So I find like a happy medium like in the middle. Because there's this event that I go to every year now called MagFest out in Maryland. It's a music festival centered around video game music.
Cool.
And it's amazing.
Undertale?
Do
you know them? Do you know that
Toby
game?
Fox?
Toby Fox?
I bought the game. I have yet to play it.
That is one of the best video game soundtracks of all time.
That was one of my questions on here, video game soundtracks. Well, all right. But I was up front earlier this year, and I was like, I couldn't hear the guitar for like a lot of the bands because I was just like up front. And then when I went later on, moved to the back, and I realized that the speakers, like the ones that are hanging off and pointing, I was like, now I'm getting everything, and it's amazing.
So you want to be kind of center.
I want to be center.
Yeah.
So that's
same as the movie theater.
That's when I'm. Well, no, in the movie theater, I'm as far up as possible. I don't want anyone like in front of me. I don't want anyone behind me booting my chair by accident. No thanks. Get me to the back. It's where the cool kids sit. So you did mention video games. Thoughts on Limbo and Inside?
Those are great games. I think what's really cool about them is So these are games. These are side scroller games. For those who don't know, they're side scroller games where you're this like sort of creepy kid in a black and white kind of world, trying to not get murdered by everything. So it's sort of a puzzler platformer. What's really cool about both games really is that you go from being this helpless kid to being a kid who isn't helpless. There's this gradual sense of gaining a sense of power and agency in this harsh world, that it's really feel good, even though like most of what you see is like dark and messed up. And the games are humorous in messed up little ways, especially Inside. Or maybe I'm just a sick cookie. I found that Inside. Have you played Inside?
I've played both. I am a fan of Play Dead stuff.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I found some comedy in the way that the zombie slaves
just
behaved.
Like drones in the background and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in some of the interactions with them.
I'm almost tempted to ask how you felt about the endings for Inside.
It was that same thing.
Spoilers. All right, so how did you feel about the ending, the original ending, and did you get the secret ending?
There's a secret ending.
There is a secret ending.
So you don't have to become
that massive blob. Like I said, folks, this is spoilers. I don't care. I haven't been able to discuss this with anybody.
I'm going to replay it now.
So, yeah. Inside, obviously, you hit that huge blob, and I was like, I worked through this whole game for this? It's like, at least with Limbo, the theory behind the ending for that is when the young boy crashed. There's that car crash. that window, shattering through, and then you start the game all over again. It seems like Limbo's purgatory, and then like he's trying to get after his sister. But you remember like how you play the beginning of the screen? It's like it looks like a tombstone, and there's flies around it and stuff like that. The theory is that I've read is that was the boy and the sister died because of a car crash.
Oh,
that was the theory. For Inside, when you turn into that huge blobby mess that just goes on a murdering spree, if you think about it, I was just like, I was not expecting that. There's a secret special ending that I will not spoil, but you have to I think there's certain switches throughout the game or light bulbs that you have to get and knock them out. And then you go back to a section that actually had like this sound wave. It sounded like a record that kept playing over and over again and repeating itself, and it was different sounds. You're supposed to go to a lever and use those sounds in the order that they're playing, and then that's how you get that, because it'll open up a door and you can get a secret ending off of that.
That's awesome.
I won't spoil it. I like the second ending better, but that first ending, I was just like...
I liked the first ending personally.
I was like, wow, that was so confusing, but I enjoyed a lot of Inside. I was really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the next game by Play Dead.
Gotcha.
So, underrated video games. Or it sounded like you were about to say some more about Play Dead.
I just want to say about Inside and the ending. I felt like I felt powerful at the end, and I felt like I had made a statement that would be seen by the world.
Okay.
About the treatment of those the slaves, and like I felt like perhaps that boy by the end of the story could be a catalyst for change in the world, even if you die in this horrible way. So yeah, I liked it. That's all.
Underrated video games?
The Count Lucanor.
I'm not familiar.
It's okay, and also Yuppie Psycho. They're both by Baroque Decay is the studio. It's a very small indie studio. They're top-down 8-bit games in which you're mostly helpless. You don't have the ability to like fight any of the monsters that you encounter, so you got to be smart, and you have to hide and do little tricks, and the writing is really clever and fresh, and the animation whenever they have cut scenes is really beautiful in a strange way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, hello folks. Looks like Aaron and I transported to the future. Aaron, how are you doing again today?
Oh, doing well. Yes.
Yes,
the future is here.
The future is
and
now.
It's wonderful.
We've changed clothes.
It's bright.
I transmogrified into a sweet X-Hunter shirt. It's an awesome band. You should check them out.
Yeah. And I'm in a pink shirt now.
Well, I brought Aaron back because there was a few leftover questions from our time together, and we wanted to go over them. So, back to video games. Favorite roguelite video games?
Okay. I'm playing Hades right now and having a great time with that. It's from Supergiant Games, which they're the creators of Bastion
and Transistor,
which I'm a huge fan of for the soundtrack especially. But Hades is the story of the son of the Greek god Hades, who has decided that he wants to leave home, and his dad is like, "You can't."
I've never seen the trailer for that.
He's like, it's like a combination of not only do I forbid it, but there's like a natural law in play that he's implying. And his son is like rebelling against his dad. And every time you try to escape, you get closer and closer to the surface. And because it's Hades and it's the realm of the dead, like you dying just means you show up back in Hades's palace. And so it's fun because also like all of the Greek gods decide that they want to help you. Like everyone except Hades is mad at Hades. And so and they're all capricious and sort of jealous of each other. And they'll do little contests to be like, who do you like more? And they'll punish you if you do stuff that they don't like. But generally they help you by giving you powerful boons that allow you to fight better.
Are you actually able to escape Hades in the game?
I haven't yet. I've gotten pretty far. I've gotten so far that my dad had to come and lay down the whooping himself. I haven't beat Dad yet.
Because I was wondering if it's like as a reference to Sisyphus, who keeps pushing the boulder up the hill, only doomed for it to roll down and repeat.
Sisyphus is a character, and it is. I totally agree that it's a Sisyphean task, I think is what they call them.
Maybe
it might be Sisyphean task.
I'm not that good with etymology as far as the Greek mythology goes, but I do love Greek mythology. It's solid.
Good times.
One of my favorite mythologies, actually. Greek, Norse, and I like Japanese.
Yeah, you encounter Sisyphus in that game, and he's like never pushing the rock. He's always slacking. And it's like, shouldn't you be getting up that hill, buddy?
So, what upcoming games are you looking forward to?
Oh, well, I'm getting into Outer Worlds right now.
Okay,
I've been enjoying that. I play a lot of this game called Frostpunk, which is kind of a real-time strategy roguelike. You are basically like the world had a great freeze, and it's like a new ice age is starting, and you are starting a city that's based around lamentably a coal generator. It's just a giant coal generator, and you're building this city, and the temperature is basically your main enemy. Your temperature and like human strife, human needs. So you have to keep the people happy, keep them behaving, even though like this is apocalyptic conditions, and you also have to keep them warm enough to live. and it gets to like negative 80 degrees Celsius. I don't even know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it gets crazy cold, like close to absolute zero kind of temperatures. And so you have to be able to provide the people with enough coal, enough food. You have to have their houses like all warm and insulated. And in order to get the coal, you need people to go to work, though. And if their workplace is too cold, then their fingers start to freeze off. And then you got amputees, and it's like, do you make the amputees work? Can you make the amputees work?
Can you make the amputees work?
Yes. Why, yes, you can. You can also make the children work. So there become all these moral questions get mixed in there. And like then you've got children amputees, and that's awkward. Are
you serious?
Well, children get hurt for sure. They can die too. At work-related accidents, it's rough.
Well, I mean, it's realistic. I mean, if it's like a frozen apocalypse, you can't have a game with children and they're not passing away. I'm not pro-child passing away in frozen apocalypse games.
But let's be realistic here, yeah.
The adults can pass away, and then the game just fades to black, and it's like, oh, so I'm left with the thoughts of that poor kid potentially starving to death.
Yeah, and then there's like, first you can like build a tavern, which is nice, people can use
alcohol doesn't freeze.
Yeah, alcohol doesn't freeze, and it's a nice place for people to let off some steam between shifts. But then you also have the option to do a brothel, and then it's like, okay, well, whoa, do we need? This is a little far. I've avoided a brothel so far.
Body heat.
Also, well, just to keep people happy. I don't think it actually causes more happiness than harm, but it lowers public disorder. And then there's, you can become a police state. You can just hire a whole bunch of guards.
Yeah,
and
that always
people
works.
to like finger their, point out their neighbors, and
that always works. That works out for the best in every scenario.
Well, I have done that. I have had to. Okay, you don't understand what
Dismuke,
situations.
The dictator, that's what you're known as.
You don't understand what I was dealing with. These people could not be satisfied.
It's because you didn't.
So they had to be controlled.
You didn't build a brothel.
Brothels are morally wrong.
All right, but don't morals go out the window in a post-apocalyptic situation?
I think maybe there's a scenario where an ethical brothel could exist. In the past, I felt that most brothels have been done in a way that is morally wrong.
Fair enough.
Wow, I'm on the record with that one now.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not going to necessarily agree or disagree. I'm not going to invalidate how you feel about brothels.
I'm just picturing like a picture of my face with that quote under it.
That's not going to even be a quote.
It's like there's a right way to do a brothel here in Dismuke.
According to the Dismuke Dictatorship, that's the right way to do a brothel. Oh, yeah, all right, tell you what, folks, that'll be the byline for this interview.
No.
All the other cool things we talked about, all the music from the last interview combined with this one.
Oh, no.
Brothels.
This is what happens when I talk about video games.
No, it's all good, dude. So, on to a non-brothel subject, but in the video game realm.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, this is staying in. I don't care. You mentioned yesterday Undertale is one of your favorite soundtracks.
Definitely.
What other video game soundtracks do you like?
Transistor has a really killer one. It's about a singer who's lost their voice, and their songs like permeate the scene, and also the music is incorporated into the action in a really distinct and cool way. It's like pseudo turn-based, the game, and whenever you are planning out your turn, the music does this shift as you're planning, and then it does another shift as you go in, and so the music is it's malleable, and it shapes itself to your actions as a player, which is really cool. So I like that game. Morrowind has a wonderful soundtrack. That's for those who don't know, that's the
Elder Scrolls
prequel to the prequel to Skyrim.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the Elder Scrolls, yeah.
I've never played any of those games.
that's
Especially
okay.
like Skyrim, giant spiders, no thank you. Not happening.
So what I love about Morrowind is like it doesn't do spiders. It does like all sorts of creatures that are original and like created by the makers of the game. Like they came up with their own bestiary, which makes it feel very otherworldly. Whereas, Skyrim, it's like Skyrim has beautiful graphics, but like I've seen a wolf. I've never seen a giant floating jellyfish monster like I have in Morrowind.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, are we talking about like in real life? Like I've seen a. I thought you were saying like,
that's my point. I guess is that like Skyrim's mostly real life things or like minotaurs, stuff that you have conceived of in your head before, whereas Morrowind was a whole bunch of stuff that I had never imagined.
So is there no crossover in the games then? I take it.
The Daedra crossover, and it's a continuous world. It's just that the there's different continents, and Morrowind is on the continent of Vardenfell, which by the time the events of Skyrim are happening, I'm not sure if Vardenfell even still exists. Or maybe I may have mixed that up. Vardenfell may be an island that's part of Morrowind.
I can't wait for the actually to come up from this one.
Yeah, right?
It's like, folks, it's going to be okay. We can't remember every single thing to every single thing all at once.
There's nothing wrong with respectfully diffusing the correct information.
But when you get obnoxious over it, that's where I have a problem with it.
Right.
That delicious water. So, okay. I would like to share, I think, 2 or 3 of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time. Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation.
I just got a piece of art from that.
Really?
Yeah, they said it was inspired by that, and I just got the art because I liked it. But which Castlevania?
Castlevania Symphony of the Night came out for the PlayStation. You can actually find it on either the PlayStation Network or the, I want to say Xbox Live. Cool. I don't know what system you work through. You can find it through numerous platforms, but the soundtrack to that, Michiru Yamane did the soundtrack for that, and like it has so many different genres of music on there, and it's just amazing. And I don't think any Castlevania soundtrack after that has even touched that one.
Yeah.
And that game is have you ever played that game?
No.
Oh yeah. Well, yes. It's so you know how like the Metroid games, right?
Yeah.
Where
I've heard of Metroidvania. I've played a lot of Metroidvanias.
That's where the term came from.
Because it's a side-scroller platform thing?
It's a side-scroller, but you can't get to certain areas or defeat certain enemies until you have gained abilities. You can actually level up because there's RPG elements to it. It's a fantastic game from start to finish. Cool. Bad voice acting, but that's what we love about it. You know, because this game was made in the 90s, but it just blew my mind. But the soundtrack to that is amazing, especially Crystal Teardrops and Waltz of Pearls or Dance of Pails. Those 2 songs are just amazing.
That sounds cool.
Another cool soundtrack, a game that I didn't see coming, was Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Really?
For the Wii. I was like, I went on a Kirby binge, and I was like, this game was, well, obviously Kirby games are kid-friendly, and this one's especially kid-friendly. You literally cannot die in that game. You just lose gems that you collect, but you can still beat the level.
Okay.
You know? But, like, the music, like, they could have just phoned it in, but like they went all out. There's a lot of piano driven music, and it's just amazing. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
When I was playing more and more into the game, I was like, this is amazing. Lava landing and cool caves, 2 different songs and 2 different types of songs, and it was just like, wow, you guys didn't have to do all this effort, but I truly appreciate this. So amazing.
Kirby.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. And I was like, now it's like, I mean, I've loved a lot of Kirby games, but this is actually now my top Kirby game. And it's not even your typical Kirby game either. Like, all the graphics are designed to look like fabrics and cloths, even Kirby himself. Kirby's not even inhaling enemies and taking their powers.
There's a Yoshi version that's like that,
Woolly
right?
World. Yoshi's Woolly World. That was for the Wii U.
Yeah.
That came out after Epic Yarn.
My girlfriend played that. She seemed to really enjoy it.
It's an
interesting graphical choice. Graphics choice, whatever.
It's graphics. Cool. So, we actually wanted to talk to you about comics. So, we discussed the other day that you, off camera, that you like comics. So, from my understanding, you don't like superhero comics.
Right. So, I've been getting into, I guess, I don't know what you would call them. I guess I've been getting into graphic novels, but they just seem like comics to me.
Graphic novels are comic books, dude.
Right. Like, why do they call it anything different? Is it just them trying to rebrand so they can sell to more people?
Yeah, and graphic novels, I guess, for me, I've always had, like, umbrage with that term because it's like, it's a comic book, dude. Let's call it like it is.
Yeah.
I guess they're like, I don't read comic books. I read graphic novels. I mean,
I feel that way about manga, too. It's like, this looks an awful lot like a comic book. This is a black and white comic book, huh?
But
yeah. Well, anyway. Actually. I've been getting into my first one was Saga
by Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, Saga's really, really good. Just has some really killer moments, and the characters are strong, and the world building is really cool. And I love the idea of like the proxy war, because it just sounds like such an extension of like what we've already got going on in our world. Mm-hmm. And then I went from that to Sandman.
Absolutely
Neil
comic.
Gaiman, yeah.
Absolutely wonderful comic series.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty into that one. Trees, which is the one with the giant pillars crash into the world.
Another good one.
Yeah, and then there's one I cannot for the life of me figure out what the title is because it's always so weird looking on the front cover. But it's like,
is it the black market thing that I think we were talking about?
Yeah, it's the Wall Street thing. Like Wall Street is run like basically finances are mixed with blood magic. Like the financial elite, Illuminati, are all dabbling in blood magic. Not even dabbling. Like they're 100% ancient lineages of humans that have like ascended above humanity through doing really inhumanly cruel things.
Nice. I mean, I've read the first volume of that. I didn't get to read the second volume. I know that much.
Yeah,
but
I just got the second volume.
Oh, no kidding.
Or the second compilation.
It's a trade paperback, so or graphic novel, you know. But yeah, so you haven't finished the Sandman yet?
I haven't finished any of them.
All right.
I've started a whole bunch, and now I'm having trouble getting the compilation books.
Okay, so for Sandman, you could actually buy, what they have now is like 3 omnibuses. An omnibus is a bunch of trades or graphic novels placed all into one massive
That's
book.
what I want. It's called an omnibus.
Omnibus. So you can actually get all 3 Sandman omnibuses for less than $80 a piece off of Amazon. I have all 3 of them.
So
that's the entire series, because Sandman ran for like 75 issues, and then omnibus number 3 actually covers all the spin-off stories that Neil Gaiman did for the series. Yeah. And I would highly recommend Sandman. It's an amazing comic. And I felt foolish too when I started reading that, because I initially was like, no, I want nothing but superheroes. And then my friend was like, dude, you got to read this. Like, yeah, whatever, you know. And then when I actually started reading it, I went back to him and I apologized. I was like, dude, I'm a fool. This is an amazing comic. And when I saw that they were releasing those in omnibus editions, I was like, oh, I have to actually own all of this, because if you try buying the individual volumes, it can get quite pricey. Yeah. But and some of them are out of print. So now you actually can buy all 3 of them for less than $80 a piece.
Cool. And now I know like what term to type whenever I'm trying to shop online, because I was trying to find more of a lot of these.
They go for $150 a piece, but you can get them for less than $80.
Yeah.
And it's not, I guess it's an Amazon plug, and I don't even work for them. So you've mentioned that you read Trees by Warren Ellis. Have you read Transmetropolitan by him?
I haven't.
I would recommend that series too.
Okay.
It is not even a superhero genre. It's about this gonzo journalist set in the future named Spider Jerusalem, and he's exposing like corruption throughout the city, and it's a really futuristic city, and his I guess adventures through it. And it's a solid series.
Cool.
Highly recommend it. Have you read Preacher? Transmetropolitan.
Transmetropolitan. Okay.
I'll tweet it out to you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, Preacher. I've read the first one, and I've also watched a bunch of YouTube clips from the show.
Haven't seen it.
Look up the Meet Herman Gloss, whatever the German guy's name is. You know what I'm talking about?
Thor or Odin?
No. Well, maybe that's some code name of his, but he's got one of his eyes is strange, and he's the
head of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've read the entire series. I own the entire series.
Okay, yeah. His opening scene in the show is him reporting in to be trained or to basically try out for this secret organization, and there's all these like super buff handsome regular spy like James Bond looking dudes there, and he is nothing like any of them, and he is better for the job than any of them. Then there's just so many funny things where they compare and contrast like his way of doing things with everybody else's.
You should definitely finish the comic series.
Okay.
It is so messed up. Have you talked to Ian Sinclair about Preacher?
No.
Ian is a huge Preacher fan.
Okay, cool.
Dead serious. Next time you see him, bring that up in conversation.
Yeah.
That dude will probably talk to you for at least 15 minutes about how much he loves Preacher. Like, we've had conversations in the past about Preacher, like on camera. He's a huge comic book fan too.
Nice.
You know who else is a huge comic book fan? Clifford Chapin.
Oh yeah, that I know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he likes the hero stuff. I don't know if he does he read any of the.
Actually, he reads.
What would you call that genre? Just supernatural, grounded supernatural, or something like that.
I don't know. I just comic book. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Sci-fi,
non-hero
fantasy.
comics, I guess.
And that's the wonderful thing about comics. It's another medium of entertainment that you could just do pretty much anything in. There's no genres. Well, yes, there are some genres. There are horror comics or hilarious comics and stuff like that. But you can do so many cool things. Granted, yes, Sandman has been optioned for Netflix. I can't imagine.
That's strange. I can't imagine who they would cast.
I don't either. But I can't imagine like that show coming out back in the day, just, doing the things that the comic has done.
Yeah.
Like a convention for serial killers. Come on now. Oh, yeah, that's spoilers. Light spoilers. But there's a convention for serial killers in the Sandman. So do you read manga?
Yeah. Mostly for work.
I figured.
So I've read a lot of Tokyo Ghoul. I've read pretty much all of Attack on Titan. I'm a little bit behind now on Titan, but I'll catch up before the next season comes out. And then I'm reading Radiant and Fire Force right now.
Fire Force is solid.
Fire Force is a good manga.
Well, I haven't read the manga, but I have been watching the anime. It's fairly solid.
Yeah.
But I also liked Soul Eater as well.
Right. They're similar. They've got Fire Force does a good job with capturing like little small messages. Like it's strange because like in a lot of ways the show's like just this like weird goofy romp. And like I'm not the biggest fan of how it treats the female characters.
That's fair.
I mean, literally just one of them.
I know what you're talking about. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
The lecturer.
Right. But it actually has these really cool little moral messages, like, Captain Obi telling the kids, the new rookies, like not to show their weapons whenever they go to the, into the house, because it's like, don't let the family see that you're there to kill. Like, even though they know, like, you don't have to make them imagine the violent part.
Yeah.
You're being sensitive to that kind of thing and not being all cavalier and like the somberness of that kind of duty, I think is a really nice thing to a nice value to instill in our, our viewers who may someday grow up to be firefighters or policemen, or soldiers. So I thought that was cool. And then also like some things about like the fighting, like Benimaru telling them about, like how in a fight, like you should sense the lives that are at stake. And like he talks about like channeling anxiety into focus by giving it the context of what is at stake. Like that kind of like deep thinking, it really like can apply to the viewer's life in different ways. I thought that was really cool.
Did you get to read Blood Blockade Battlefront when you were working on that show?
I didn't.
I haven't even been able to read that manga because it's out of print, and I'm not dropping $200 for like a volume 7 because like it's like 10 volumes for like the first series, and I'm hoping that Dark Horse re-releases it, but I'm not seeing it anytime soon because Yasuhiro, I want to say Nito is still working on it because he was a dude who did Trigun, which is a fantastic series in itself, both anime and manga, but he's still working on the series. That's why I'm hoping that there's a season 3 down the road for that show. But I was wondering if you were lucky enough to like read the manga series for that, like research purposes.
I bet it's really good, and I bet there's a lot that isn't in the anime, huh?
Couldn't tell you. Haven't read a single one.
Oh, gotcha.
Because
it's out of print.
It's out. Well, you could still get. There's people selling them on Amazon for obscene prices, and I'm like, I'm not that attached to it that I'm going to purchase this.
It's cool to know that manga can be like that because, as I think about like building up a comic habit, I worry about, the prices do get pretty up there, but knowing that like they can accrue value is kind of, it's awakening the same itch, the same little voice in my head that existed for like Magic the Gathering.
Oh, you really into
like,
that?
Oh, I was, yeah. But it's that voice that's like, it's okay. You'll get a rare card. It'll be worth $60. That's almost half of what you paid for all these booster packs.
Did you? Or I guess off top. Impromptu question. Did you ever see that video for the Black Lotus?
Oh, like I've seen a few videos of like just people opening them and then losing their minds.
Lotus, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the excitement.
It's so exciting.
I'm not even into the game, but I was like, I can appreciate that dude's.
That's literally the most valuable card. That's the most valuable piece of cardboard in the world. In that moment, like. Seriously, like I can't think of anything else. There's no currency that's valued at a higher amount. Maybe somebody has written checks that are worth more. I mean, I'm sure people have written checks that are worth more, but checks are bigger. So if we're talking about for that size,
oh, that's a good point.
Nothing has ever been more valuable that's made of paper than that Black Lotus. I'm pretty sure. I'm curious.
Maybe a stamp?
Fact check me on this one. Oh, maybe a stamp.
Maybe a stamp.
Because stamps get up into like, do they get up into like hundreds of thousands?
I'm pretty sure if it's a rare stamp, yes, but I've never been one to go collect stamps. I collect comic books and video games and anime, dude.
Yeah.
I've never gone into stamp collecting.
The most valuable Black Lotus, I think, is like 20,000 or something for like a rare holographic.
That's just
original.
Insane. But good on
it's
that.
It's like a
dude.
car, or it might be more than that though.
Good on that dude though.
And the thing is, like, all of those, there's flower cards for every color, and like they are the only reason that. They're not the only reason, but they're the main reason that turn 1 victories are possible in Legendary. I mean, in like the Legacy format, which is why they were banned.
So I guess final question on comics. Are there any comics that you're looking into that you want to read when you have the time or to add to your collection?
I want to check out The Wicked and the Divine. I've heard that one's really good.
Yes, by Kieran Gillian or Gillian Kieran.
That sounds right.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you read that? It's good.
I've read of a big trade. Mm-hmm. So this is The Wicked and the Divine. He did, I think, Phonogram too. That's a different series. Which oddly enough, when I read that series, I thought the main character, he was like the physical embodiment of Brit pop music. And the character I looked at, I was like, that's J. Michael Tatum right there. If this was actually like a live adaptation, I think J. Michael Tatum would fit into that character. But yeah,
that's
The
awesome.
Wicked and Divine is a cool series. Would recommend.
Cool. We'll check
would
it
recommend.
out.
It's a different spin on mythology.
Yeah. And I'm all about those. I was big into mythology as a kid. I played Age of Mythology, the strategy game, and that got me even more into it. And then I read a book series. You know Animorphs?
Animal Works?
Animorphs. Have you ever heard of that book series? It was like a
no.
No?
Wait, sorry. I think I've heard of it, never read it.
Okay, yeah, it's the books that had the holographic covers where a person changes into an animal. Anyway, that series was really popular when I was a kid, and the same author, I devoured all those books, and that same author, K.A. Applegate, she then released Everworld, which was a book series about, the idea was that as humankind was advancing technologically, the old gods were like, man, we don't like what's happening here. They basically became worried that humans would become so advanced that they could overthrow the gods. And so the gods they all band together and agreed to work together to create an alternate reality called Everworld, where they could be in charge forever. And so it's a world where literally all of the pantheons coexist.
Okay.
They war. They totally fight each other. And also there are gods from like another like universe or like another sentient planet that are now invading Everworld. But yeah, so that's another way that I was into mythology. Which is all to say I enjoy fiction that's based around that kind of thing.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll send you some comic book recommendations down the road.
Thank you.
I mean, I know you're busy, so.
Yeah, but I do like to read when I can, and comics have been a good way to be able to get that. They read faster, which is nice.
There's so many great comics out there.
Yeah,
but there's some really dense ones too. So yes, but I guess we have to go back to the past.
Yeah.
So, well, folks, we'll go back to the regular interview now. So as we're wrapping up this interview, what's new that you would like to talk about, or what's new that you would like to promote, should I say?
Dr. Stone, definitely.
Solid show.
It's on Toonami at 11 p.m. I'm really proud of what we're doing with that show, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. It's got a cool story to tell. We just got into stuff with my dad, or my character's dad.
Oh, great spoilers! Thanks, bro. I didn't even get that far.
Hey,
no.
Listen, we all knew he had a dad, and presumably a mom, but don't worry about the mom. Yeah. Oh, Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Okay.
The second season of our reboot of that is coming out, and I am Reinhardt in that, which means I am conquering the universe. So if you would like to see me conquer the universe and crush Ian Sinclair once and for all, then that's where. Yeah, actually, it's two. So the two shows that I'm working on, Ian Sinclair is my enemy. He's Tsukasa in Dr. Stone, and I'm going to crush him. And he's Yang with the Rebels in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and I'm going to crush him.
Hopefully you'll come back as Leonardo Watch in season 3 and
start
getting some revenge on Zap.
In Blood Blockade Battlefront, I do not think Leo will ever get revenge on Zap. Zap will just continue to torment him until all of time.
Zap will just do himself in.
Yeah, that's the best I can hope for.
So if people wanted to find you online, where could they go?
Aaron __ Dismuke at Twitter, or just type Aaron Dismuke on Twitter and you'll find me. Yeah, it's a picture of me like looking angrily up from a typewriter. I write for a living now, which means I'm angry.
And final question, what would you like to say to all your fans throughout the years?
Thank you so much for coming along through the ride. And come to cons. Hope to see you someday. Thank you.
Well put, sir. Well put.
Yeah, that was poetry.
Well, folks, this is Joe from My Geek Scene at the Grand Rapids Comic Con with Aaron Dismuke. Take it easy.